have quorum. Everyone being present with the exception of Commissioner Sines. Everyone will please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any public comments?
No, Your Honor.
The first item that we have is approval of minutes. You all have them before you.
And those who would like to approve the minutes, Mr. Senator?
I have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let the record show Commissioner Sines is present. Okay, next item is the vendors list.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. You should have a copy of the vendors list in front of you. There should be 5 new vendors. We've reviewed them and we recommend that they be approved. Approve, Your Honor. Second.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next is the claims. Chris?
Yes, sir. Again, you should have a copy of the claims list in front of you. It's 19 pages. We've reviewed those claims and we recommend it be approved.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Before we go into our reports, if it's okay with the board, I believe we have some people that want to present or talk to us in executive session. So if it's okay, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session first, and then we'll come back and cover it. Moved and second. Discussion. All in favor, please aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We should be relatively quick. If it's okay, before, let me go back and let's do the proclamation so that those people can leave if they need to. Yeah, and
de Víctor, ahí están los de Víctor. También tiene un proclamation, Víctor.
Good morning.
Good job.
Okay, I'm sorry, we're back in open session to discuss items 10 and 11. These are Child Abuse Proclamation Month, or the month of April. And I believe it's a joint proclamation between the DA and the County Attorney's Office.
It is, Your Honor.
That's correct.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I wanted to thank you for having us here this morning. This is a joint venture between the DA's office and the County Attorney's Office with reference to Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month, which is April of this year. I know that a couple of you have already heard me read this proclamation before, but I don't think I can read it enough to bring awareness to the issue of child abuse and neglect that we have, not only in Starr County, but in the state of Texas and throughout the United States. So this is the third time I've read this proclamation. I hope to read it several more times this month so that all of us are aware on a daily basis of the issue of child abuse and neglect in this community. So let me read the proclamation, and then I'll let Ms. Bettis also speak to you. Whereas in fiscal year 2020, the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services confirmed 68,461 victims of child abuse or neglect, including over 200 open child abuse or neglect cases in the office of the 229th Judicial District Attorney. And whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone in our community. And whereas our children are our most valuable resource and will shape the future of Texas. And whereas child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that can have lifelong consequences for the victims. Whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. Whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the meaningful connections and partnerships created between child welfare, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, and law enforcement agencies. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that benefit children and their families. Whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. Whereas prevention remains the best defense for children and their families. Whereas the impact of abuse and neglect has long-term personal, economic, and social costs, therefore hurting Texas's future. Whereas the office of the 229th Judicial District Attorney, the Crime Victim Center of the 229th, whereas the Crime Victim Center, Child Protective Services, Child Advocacy Centers, foster parents, teachers, and others work to ensure that our children in our community have a safe and happy future. Now, therefore, I, Roch Allen Ramirez, 229th Judicial District Attorney, do hereby proclaim April 2021 National Child Abuse Prevention Month in the 229th Judicial District, and urge all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and their families. And I signed this proclamation on April the 1st of this year. I want to thank Judge Veta, for being present when I read this proclamation on April the 1st, even though the weather was terrible. I want to thank Commissioner Bettis for allowing us to use his trailer and putting up a billboard in his precinct. And I want to thank all of you for listening attentively while I read this proclamation. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez, before you did, I think I talked to you at one time on a case, before I called you, it was during the weekend, about this problem that the family was having with their child.
Yes.
About, that they were taken by force actually, because the child didn't want to go, and I explained to you what the problems were. Even though I've run into 3 more cases of such similar to that. They call the police, and the child don't want to go because the fear of going out there where they're going, the environmental is not very good, like I told you. And the sheriff's department or the city police tell them that they have to go. So who takes care of that? I mean, this is child prevention, and they're trying to prevent something that happened, and then you call in the law enforcement, and they don't do nothing about it.
Well, and I think Ms. Bettis will also be able to address this. If it's a criminal matter, if there's been actual abuse or neglect, then of course criminal charges must be filed, and there are measures that can be put into place to prevent that child from having to be put in a dangerous situation. If it's a matter, a civil matter of access and possession, and the child doesn't want to go just because they don't want to be with the parent whose turn it is to have access or possession, then it becomes a civil matter, Commissioner Garza, that has to be addressed in court by means of a motion to modify that visitation, or some other civil motion before a judge who handles family law matters. But if there's abuse or neglect involved, then certainly that has to be brought to the attention of law enforcement, and we can address that matter.
Because I explained to you that matter, that what it was transpired, there was abuse on it. And
Yes.
they told her that she got to go.
Yes.
So, I mean,
It takes some proactive measures sometimes from either one of the parents, a relative, or law enforcement to file these charges so that then either Mr. Canales' office can get involved or my office can get involved.
and we have another case, it was the last week, about the mother being hooked up in drugs, left the kids alone, and don't pay attention to them, you know. Who can they report to that? I mean, do they have to report to child abuse? Apparently they give a 1-800 number, they never get an answer or anything.
I think Ms. Pettis can probably answer that question for you, Commissioner.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Good morning. On behalf of the Starr County Attorney's Office, and Victor sends his regards. He had DMV appointments with his daughters right now. The Child Welfare Board, we have members back here, and Child Protective Services as well. We thank you for having us here today. Here in Starr County, in our state, and in our nation, we value our children as our greatest hopes for the future. Every child deserves to grow up in a safe and nurturing family, in an environment free from harm and fear. Every year, the month of April is dedicated to recognizing that the safety and well-being of children in Texas must be a priority. And we honor all of those who work diligently to promote the well-being of children. Our CPS workers, our Child Welfare Board, our prosecutors, such as the DA's office and the County Attorney's office, law enforcement, child advocacy centers, our healthcare providers, our educators, our counselors, our foster parents, and our leaders, such as this Honorable Commissioner's Court. We thank you for all that you do. Together, we can create a brighter future for all of our children. Thank you.
Now, going back to what, because they fear, okay?
Yes, sir.
Going back to what they fear to go to their place. If they don't want to go in, I'm going to tell you, because they fear about their own parents, what can they do?
It depends on every particular situation. I'm not sure on your situation if this is between two parents that have equal rights.
No, but the thing is, the child doesn't want to, when he sees her, one of the parents, she starts trembling and very afraid to
Okay.
go there. Something's got to be going on in that family that the kids don't want to go.
So if there
Because
is a
he's got the right
problem,
to take him, he's got to take him.
if there is a problem, law enforcement should be called and the 1-800 number should be called. If a child is in that much fear, then as a parent, they should demand a court order be brought before them before they turn over the child who is in that much fear.
Well, let's say law enforcement goes there, they've been called to that place. They say, well, we can't do anything, they got to go. What do?
Well, how does law enforcement decide where they go?
Well, that's what I'm trying to know. I mean, that's
Without a
See,
specific
that's
court
these
order?
people have those kind of problems.
Right, without a specific court order, our law enforcement needs to just make sure the children are safe, and they can call our CPS workers. We have a very good relationship.
In the meantime, that child that can't get a court order, she's got to still go, even though she's in fear to go to that place.
No, my recommendation would be that there should be a court order requiring the child to go to the place that she
Yeah,
fears.
but I mean, they tried and they haven't gotten anything. They haven't gotten any answers or anything.
Yes, they definitely need to speak with an attorney, and if they want to talk to me and our CPS workers, we can look into that as well.
Oh, if I would tell you the story of the attorney, man. Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
There are some really good attorneys, both in Starr County and in neighboring counties, that can handle these cases well. So I hope that they get the help that they need, because they
And they ain't
deserve
getting
it.
it, I guarantee you.
They absolutely deserve it. But thank you all very much for having us here today. Thank you to the DA's office for the joint collaboration, and thank you for helping us to bring awareness about this very important issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just to comment, you know, I personally, and on behalf of the court, want to thank all of you, and of course the prosecutors, for the work that you all do. I realize that this is probably one of the most heart-wrenching circumstances that I imagine you all have when it involves children, especially when they're being abused. So we're extremely grateful that there are people like yourselves that are willing to take care of these problems and help our community. Our goal is hopefully one day not to have a single one. I know that's very difficult, but that should be our goal. Again, I thank you, both the DA and the County Attorney's Office.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Want to do the picture now?
Yeah, why don't we do it?
So everybody wants to come to the front? I don't know if you want to have some chairs.
That's actually.
Yeah.
Let's move it to the front.
Your line up to the side.
If you don't mind,
Or some you want? If you
Yeah,
want,
that's a
or
good
you can
idea.
stand behind the chairs.
Yeah, so we can put the chairs here and some stand. We can stand behind. CPS, what is it? Yeah, go ahead, please. Let me see how that looks back here.
All right. You want me to stand right here?
And how much up and down chairs over here?
Can we grab it, everybody? One more chair.
Let me see that everybody. Chema, want to get in? Jump in, let them between the questioners.
We still need to take out these. How are you? I'm so sorry. I think we're okay now, right, Bernie? Good.
Is that Mara? Come on over.
Go ahead.
Ready?
One, two, three. One more. One, two, three. This will be my last. Thank you.
And then we'll breathe. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, it's gonna move over here.
There's a remote on that chair, please. Now we're gonna rearrange it.
Everybody didn't have to get skinny. We don't see it.
No, I was smiling. I was smiling.
I'll leave that.
And mine.
Sí, ya estaba remangado y juntado.
I guess we just give a report when we're going to executive session at this time.
You're gonna take those items right now, the ones that you just, 10 and 11, Judge?
Yeah, we got approved, yeah.
Do we need to approve?
Yeah.
The proclamation was done by them, not by the.
So the second thing, I can approve proclamation.
Proclamation.
Is there a motion to approve 10 and 11?
I second, Your Honor.
Moved in second, all in favor, please aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will now go into executive session, and what was the line item?
Line item 43, Judge?